What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back. We've got ourselves another Supergirl review for you. It is I, your host as always, Adam Perez, coming through for episode number 9 this season, titled Dream Weaver. An episode I certainly enjoyed, to say the least. We got to see some showcase in regards to Nia Nyxly, who's definitely grown on her own as a superhero. We even got the opportunity to focus on Kelly a little bit in here, and I actually appreciated the fact that Kelly's storyline really wrapped very well into Kara as well as William's storyline here this week also. So I was kind of impressed with that also. So, you know, I will say this. Coming back from the really great first half that I certainly thought that we wind up getting, I do feel like these first 2 episodes, while I really enjoyed the return episode from the mid-season premiere, if you will, the idea of really focusing on the emotional side of Kara's return, welcoming her back, we didn't really get a lot of action in there. This episode, on the other hand, it was just okay for me. I mean, we got the opportunity to see Supergirl and Martian Manhunter kind of flex their muscles a little bit, right? But still very much a smaller story in here, really just focused on the characters and things like that. I haven't felt like we've had our big bombastic sort of episode since we've certainly returned a ton of action, really focusing on all the characters, you know what I mean? It definitely felt very much like 2 episodes in, maybe taking a breather, I would assume, from the great first half that we certainly had. So just an okay episode here for me, but I really appreciated what it wind up doing for the characters in regards to propelling their stories forward. You know, the previous episode ended with Nia Nyxly waking up and realizing Nyxly. I think she winds up saying, like, mentioning her name towards the end. So the fact that we get to see her storyline in here sort of carried over, her having another dream, being inside of her dream, but then having Nyxly pop up in the middle of her dream in here and finally have that encounter was pretty interesting to see how that was going to turn out, right? I mean, I feel like Nyxly the Imp has a pretty good proposition for her, but the clear indication is you can't trust her, right? Like, we literally just saw what she wind up doing with Kara over in the Phantom Zone. If anything, I would think that maybe Supergirl maybe let them in on the idea that she met an imp at some particular point in time, and if you meet this person again, please don't trust them. I'm kind of curious if Kara really did have that conversation with the rest of her Superfriends team, because if you ask me, if I already knew what Nyxly wind up doing with Supergirl over in the Phantom Zone, I probably wouldn't have taken this deal. But based off of just where Nia is in her character's arc, the idea that she's clearly wanting to reach out to her mother, it's something that's been on her mind all season long, if you will. She's quite determined to certainly make it happen. And even though she's trying to take the natural route of going into her dreams, trying to understand what her dreams are telling her, try to communicate with her mom, the idea now that she has this offer put in front of her, sort of like as this, what's the word I'm looking for? Like this shortcut to get the answers that she needs and to finally meet her mom. I can understand the idea and the push and pull of being sort of sucked in. But I will say this. If you have a talking owl that starts dropping knowledge on me while I'm in the middle of trying to decipher what I want to do here, I think I'm going to go with the owl. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with the owl, just based off of everything that I certainly know, everything that she certainly knows. So it's interesting for me to see. I honestly was under the impression that Nia was going to push back, that she wasn't going to go down this path. Maybe we were going to see a little bit of a battle between these two or something. But I honestly thought that she would certainly fight back, just based off of who Nia certainly is, right? You know, how connected she is to her dreams, to her abilities. The fact, again, you have a talking owl that comes to you. How often does that happen in your dreams, Nia? Like, listen to your intuitions, and unfortunately she certainly doesn't in here. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what that dynamic is going to be like with Nia along with Nyxly going down that path, because as of right now I believe the deal is just you get to see your mom for 24 hours if I'm not mistaken. In return, you help me get back to my 5th dimension. And clearly I mean, maybe that is something that she certainly wants to do, but she's an imp, right? Like, I'm sure that's part of her plan, not the entire plan. And Nia, unfortunately, has taken that deal. So we'll definitely see what happens in regards to them. But I will say this. When this episode started, the one thing that came to my mind was, man, I really love these characters. I didn't know that Dreamer, while she's not my favorite character in the season, I appreciate her and appreciate what she certainly brings to the table for the team especially, and I've really liked some of the character arcs that they've had for her, and the idea of being able to see her actually grow into a superhero and somebody that's confident in themselves. I think she's had a great story arc, and it just made me think to myself, man, I'm really gonna miss these characters, and I just wish that CW had just taken that opportunity. If Melissa Benoist ever wanted to leave the show and we still wanted to keep these characters around, give us a Legion of Superheroes television show, a Legionnaire show or whatever the case might be. You got the cast for it. They're an excellent cast. They've really proven so much and have really built these characters. That's really what I would love to see their next step be. So when Nia came on the screen, that's just where my first mind went, and I continue to see her in this season and think to myself, man, she probably could. I don't want to say I don't know if she can carry a show on her own, but if you were to put her in an ensemble cast, she would definitely be up there with one of the leads. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate just the character, and I'm interested to see where this storyline certainly goes. But did she have to kill an owl? Like, did she really have to kill an owl though? I was like, damn. I know she didn't kill it, probably just like vanquished it or whatever the case may be. And quick side note, no Brainy in this episode, no Brainiac, which I found interesting in here also. Let's see here, what's the other storyline? Oh, Kelly taking a step up here in our episode. I gotta say, I absolutely love Kelly and Alex together as a couple. I think they're extremely adorable, almost to the point of being disgusting, if I could be honest. Like, at some point in time, I'm like, okay, guys, we get it. You guys are great together. You guys look great together. You get along. You know each other, and I get it. All right, extremely adorable. So I absolutely love seeing them together in here. But we clearly see her working as a social worker in this episode, going to a foster house, addressing a young boy who is an alien, who's there in foster care. Apparently they had like power dampeners on this kid and things like that, and he's been acting rather unruly because of the fact that his brother Orlando is in jail and in prison, and Orlando shared some like really terrible stories with this kid about him being used and abused and having to use his powers and stuff. So the little kid is certainly freaked out and worried here. So I love the fact that Kelly brings in Kara to set them up on this particular story, because again, I really did appreciate the fact that it wind up being linked in here. But for Kelly, at least, it's a reminder for Kelly, her actions in this episode, that people still need to look out for the community. And one of the things that I think some of the community certainly has been missing is, in fact, the Guardian. And so I'm really glad that Kelly, just based off of the work that she was capable of doing in here, some really great emotional talks with Alex also, for her to kind of see that she was able to be helpful, because really, one of her biggest fears, as we saw in the season finale, was the idea that she's really the weak link of this group, right? Not necessarily trusting her or trusting herself. What would you have to do if you're literally the last person standing, up against these superheroes and things like that? Like, would you be able to survive? Can you handle yourself, sort of thing, right? So there definitely is a sense of like, everybody else is useful in this team. What am I to it? So I appreciated this episode in regards to at least giving her that reaffirmation for herself and confidence in herself that she is capable of doing this. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Kelly has like an army background also, right? So she definitely has gone through some training, some protecting herself, some defending herself, a little bit of fighting. But I love the idea here that Alex has decided to go ahead and give her some training also, because Alex is no slack. So I definitely want to see what it's gonna be like, because yes, somebody does have to look out for the community there, right? Especially when it comes, and again, Supergirl continues to do the social issues, right? The systematic failures of the prison system and things like that, right? Giving somebody way too much time for a really petty crime and then using them. Wardens taking a bunch of money. I feel like prison. I feel like I've heard prison and jail have become like just huge money makers and things like that. Like, that's why towns and communities want to like sort of build themselves around these sort of prisons and jails, because they just rake in so much money, right? Like, it's a really corrupt sort of system, and Supergirl continues to bring like topics like this to the forefront in regards to this story with Kelly. So again, appreciate the social commentary in here. But again, it really just proves to Kelly that she's ready to go ahead and take up the mantle of the Guardian. And just based off of what I've seen from the first look photo of Guardian, she looks absolutely incredible. I did find it, I don't want to say I found it odd, but I guess it's one of those things where Alex was just very forward thinking, in the sense that just knowing her girlfriend that well, and just the mindset that she has, that she's gonna want to fight a little bit harder right for the little person. So I love the fact that she already had, or spoke with James, I should say, about it, and James went ahead and gave over his Guardian helmet. So I thought that was just pretty cool, and it is a build up to a point in this season I've personally been really looking forward to. So to be able to see Kelly making that push even forward, because we saw a little bit of a tease of it, especially in the season finale when she mentioned in here she wound up defending herself and helping protect Alex. So she's definitely more than capable of doing this. It'll be interesting to see how the actress itself sort of evolves into this superhero, because I do think once you start putting on an actual costume, like, I want to see how Kelly starts holding herself, if you will, right? Like, because no offense here, but like, there's a scene in this episode where Kelly is like sneaking in. I think she has to jump over a fence and then set up the technology to lift up and, put in the codes and stuff. I'm thinking to myself, like, she's doing all this with the helmet on, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is all a stunt double. Like, Kelly doesn't walk around with that type of swag and confidence in herself, and again, it's just one of those things you can clearly tell what's the actress, what's the stunt double. But I'm really hoping that it does give Kelly this extra boost of confidence, and she holds herself a little bit taller. Not that she doesn't already, but I do want to see what the suit sort of does for her as a character, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we've got a new Guardian coming in, and I'm super pumped. And last but not least, Kara and William working together in here, as we got Andrea trying to hunt down the Super Friends. Who are they? She literally has their pictures plastered on the whiteboard, wants to get to some of these answers, have some interviews, get in deep. Apparently they went from 8th spot in the ratings up all the way to 3rd. They did some great work, it certainly seems like, really helping Katko reach the heights that Andrea certainly wants for them. But she's really being a hard ass right now. Like, I even love the little tension that we wind up having between her and Kara, who's pushing her over the idea of, why are ratings so important for you? We should be telling stories. Well, at the same time, Andreas clearly wants to tell those breaking stories, but add a little more oomph with some superheroes, right, to really get those ratings boosted. And I just love the little clash, if you will. Not to say that we haven't seen it before, but people have been really friendly on this show lately, like, right? Like, all the women on the show are just buddy. Kelly, Alex, Lena's in there now, right? Kara, I mean, everybody's buddy. Nia. So the idea that we have, like, Andrea here to be sort of that opposite force to actually push back on Kara and force her to work. Clearly, she's probably still butthurt at the idea that Kara took off for who knows how long and came back with no story, right? So she's definitely going to be pushing her harder. So we definitely see Kara and William trying to go ahead and chase down this story and work this story out. I can't believe I'm saying this, I loved the partnership between Kara and William. That's right, you heard me say it. Mr. Baking Goods himself. Yes, I didn't mind him in this episode at all. You want to know what it is? The sexual tension is gone. It's gone. It's not here anymore. The fact that they literally cut that off once we came back, like, hey, Kara, I know you want to get some coffee with a handsome self like me, but I've got a girlfriend now, so I'm too cool for you, so let's just play it cool, all right? And so now they actually pay attention to each other. It's not none of this beating around the bush, no pun intended. It's not this flirty type of thing, or I gotta keep my secret from William. I mean, granted, I'm sure there's still a level of that. But now that that's sort of out of the way, I love the way that they work together. They literally pick each other's brain perfectly well. I mean, maybe there were other examples of that earlier in the season. I was just completely blind to it because of the sexual innuendo. I don't want to say sexual innuendos, but just the sexual tension between everybody. Because you knew they liked each other. You knew that there was like something boiling in the air, right? So, but now that that's gone, But at the end of the day, we actually do see that William winds up scoring a great interview with Supergirl towards the end of this particular episode, really finally granting Andrea the one thing that she certainly wanted, and that certainly was, in fact, having one of the super friends, if you will, to go ahead and do an interview for Catco, really thinking that it's certainly going to launch the ratings sort of through the roof, if you will. And then just going back off just the idea of them sort of clashing, I do love the fact that there is a side of William in this episode that kind of agrees with Andrea in the sense of understanding the importance of having somebody like a Supergirl or one of these super friends to kind of give these interviews, because it does lead to some pretty insightful stuff, a little bit more eye-opening, I think, to certainly the general public. When you have somebody as powerful and as much notoriety as Supergirl and her super friends kind of helping deliver a particular message, people do tend to listen, right? It is one of those things where I think we have certainly seen over the past few seasons that there are moments where literally Supergirl will win the day by simply giving a speech, by talking to people, right? Not forcing them, but talking to them enough to certainly convince them to either stop doing what they're doing or to come back to help prevent whatever's certainly going on. So we definitely have seen that Supergirl's voice does certainly carry a lot of weight. And I love the fact that this episode kind of really challenges Kara going forward in this season, in the sense of, should Supergirl speak out more, right? Like, should she use her voice more often than she certainly should? And I am hoping that that's a direction that they certainly go. The fact that Kara found what William said rather interesting, I do wonder if going forward, if she's really going to start having that debate, whether with Alex, whether her own interpersonal self, the idea of maybe using her voice for even more greater good than what she's already using. And not to say that she's slacking by any sense of the imagination, but I think the power of her voice is something that maybe she hasn't fully embraced as of yet. And I think somebody like William has really kind of put that into her perspective. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this particular season goes in regards to that story. But I'm glad that it's certainly a topic that definitely wind up getting brought up, because I really do love seeing Melissa Benoist give some great sort of Kara Danvers speeches. Whether or not this season is going to end on a fantastic Supergirl speech or not, I'm going to get my tissues ready just to be on the safe side, though. You know what I mean, guys? But listen, overall, enjoy the episode. I will say this again, 2 episodes back from its little hiatus in here. While we haven't delved too much into the big over-the-top action, if you will, these past 2 episodes have been really sort of character-focused, building up their storylines and their story arcs as we go through the second half of this season. So for the most part, I definitely enjoyed it. I would understand if some people have felt maybe they've been a couple of lackluster episodes because of not the big bombastic action, but all that stuff is certainly coming, and I think these storylines just kind of help build up to those particular moments. But listen, guys, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A+ opinions, but I want to know yours. What did you guys think about this particular episode? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. But until next time, guys, do me a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.